Hey YouTubers, this is your boy Amari Points here. So as the year wraps up, it is time for my top 10 movies of 2023. This year has been filled with great movies and epic movies. I gotta say, I was happy to review every single one of them this year, and I am going to be sharing my top 10 movies that I believe were my all time favorites, starting from 10 to 1. So, sorry guys, starting from 10 to 1. And if your movie is in this list, you are going to be surprised by it. But let's start this off. Coming in at number 10 for my top 10 movies of this year is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And as most of you already know, this was the final Guardians of the Galaxy movie in the MCU. And I have to say, I was not disappointed by this movie because we learned a lot more of Rocket's past and where he came from. And we were able to see a lot of good moments, even with the Gamora from 2014. And along with the best performances by Chris Pratt, Dave Bautista, Palm, Zoe Saldana, and a bunch of other people that were in this movie. I put this in my top 10 because it is really one of the most epic Guardians of the Galaxy movie after Avengers Endgame, and we see a lot of these characters evolve throughout the MCU, and seeing them be together for this one last ride was straight up perfect. I have to say, James Gunn did a great job directing this movie and making sure it was one heck of a ride that all the MCU fans were going to enjoy. This hands down was just one of the best MCU movies. It's up there with, I guess, the Marvels and Avengers Endgame. But it was still a fun movie that came out this year. Everyone who has this movie or wants to watch it on Disney Plus, I recommend everybody watching it because it's still fun. Coming in at number 9 is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate on this, but it was still a good sequel. It did have a few problems with it, but this movie was a good way to wrap up the DCEU before the DCEU gets completely rebooted by James Gunn. And seeing Arthur become a father and the King of Atlantis is just really an interesting story. And Black Manta is back for revenge still against Aquaman, because you guys already know. If you've seen the first movie, you'll know why he's out for revenge. But again, the bromance between Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa was hands down perfect, because you can't get a better bromance than these two, aside from Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston. It was still hands down a good movie, and we get to see Arthur Jr., of course, and the rest of the cast. Again, some of them felt like they didn't want to be in the movie. Like Nicole Kidman, she felt like she could have just watched this movie in the AMC theater. You can tell by looking at her, she didn't want to be there. But Amber Heard's scenes were cut short in the movie in some parts. But it was still a great movie to watch. I honestly loved some of the visual effects. Some of the visual effects were way off, and they needed work on it. But this movie, we're not getting into that. This movie was still a perfect movie to wrap up the DCEU, and it's still a fun time for people who love Aquaman and just admires Jason Momoa and his sense of humor. He has he really honestly brings his A game in this one because it's Jason Momoa. He is Aquaman. No one can be Aquaman like he can. And I know I rhymed a little bit, but again, he no one can play that character like he can because he was meant for this role and nobody else. I hope if the DCU does get rebooted, they'll find a way to bring him back in some way. I'm not sure, but but again, this was still a fun movie to watch, even though it did have a few problems. I still enjoyed it. And coming in at number 8 is Trolls Band Together. Yes, this is the third movie to the Trolls franchise, and this movie had a bunch of a bunch of good songs. Sorry, a bunch of good songs in it, and it was still it was just funny and entertaining to watch because if you're a fan of the Trolls franchise, you will definitely want to go see this one because there are a lot of familiar songs in this that, again, when I saw this, I started singing to most of the songs in this movie, no joke. That's how good this movie is. Justin Timberlake, Anna Kendrick, and a bunch of new uh, cast cast members did a great job with this one. If you check any of the Trolls movie out, definitely check this one out. I'm sorry if I can't talk. My brain is just foggy. I get brain fog. But still, it's about Branch saving one of his brothers. I can't tell you which brother. And bringing Brozone back together, as most of you saw in the trailer. And all I can say is this: you're in for one heck of a ride. Everyone is going to be, everyone is going to be love is going to be singing, dancing, and just enjoying themselves while they watch this movie. You'll definitely want to see this movie and complete your Trolls collection when it comes out. This is still a fun movie to jam out to and just have a fun time with the story as well. And yes, you are not going to be disappointed with this one. Also check out my review on the past movies that I did, especially this one. And coming in at number 7 is Blue Beetle. Jaime Reyes, played by Zolo, I think I'm saying it right, is back home, coming back to help his family, and we honestly see the theme of this movie is about family. And no, this ain't no Fast and Furious movie, but it's but honest, but it one of the Fast and Furious movies is in my ranking. I can't say which, but this movie is basically about family, being there for your family, and also the origin story of Jaime Reyes becoming Blue Beetle. And I have to say this movie was really good. I thought it was going to be a really disappointed, pointed, disappointing movie. Sorry guys. Again, my mind is just not there. I thought this was going to be a disappointing movie, but it turned out to be really good. I was I was not expecting to enjoy myself with this movie. I really didn't. But I still had a fun time with it, and I still enjoyed myself. I really did. Because again, this movie is about family and being there for them. And I can say this. I can say this. I'm looking forward to seeing Jaime Reyes back in the new DCU and what he has to offer. Because it seems like he is going to really bring the table for the newer generation. Bring the heat for the newer generation and many more. And the rest of the cast in this movie, like George Lopez, who was playing the funny uncle, he was great. He was legit great. I wasn't disappointed with his performance too, along with the rest of the people who played Jaime's family. They were all great, especially Nana. We need a movie about her because we need to know a lot about her backstory. I truly believe that, and I know a lot of fans who've seen Blue Beetle want to know more about her backstory too. I'm not the only one. I definitely want to know more about her backstory. But yes, definitely, definitely one of my favorite movies of this year. I I honestly can't wait to see what the future holds for Blue Beetle. It's it's gonna be bright. I'm sure it is. And coming in at number 6 is The Flash. The Flash, I another DC EU movie I wasn't disappointed with. Even though Ezra Miller had a few problems throughout the past year or so, he still brought his A game with The Flash, and I really am not disappointed with how he did this movie. And as most of you know, he traveled back in time to save his mom. And we get introduced to Supergirl. And she was a total badass in this movie. And Michael Keaton came back as the Batman. And this was the last time we'll see Ben Affleck's Batman, because he won't be coming back, and I'm sad about that. Again, the DCEU is just a good uh, a good franchise that I wish they could have continued, because it definitely looks like it was going somewhere after the past 10 years. But I digress. The Flash itself, the movie itself, the visual effects were good, and I have to say the storyline was not disappointing whatsoever. And if anyone stayed after for the post credit scenes, you'll see that there was a funny moment in. It was a funny post credit scene. You guys are gonna laugh your asses off. You really are. But I digress, guys. Sorry if I'm repeating that. The Flash was still a fun movie to watch. It was exciting, thrilling, and everyone gave their best performances in this movie. I can't wait to see what happens next for The Flash, because there wasn't no announcement if Ezra Miller was leaving the DCU or anything. So there's a possibility he might come back. I'm not sure. But it was, again, this was still a funny movie, an action-packed movie that everyone is going to enjoy. You will not honestly be shocked or disappointed with what happens with this movie. You really won't, because everything falls into place for a reason with these type of movies. Excuse me. You guys are going to love The Flash. If you honestly didn't see my movie review on that, check it out. Definitely check it out. It's worth seeing. And everything I say in that review is all true. And now we're in the top 5, people. Now we're finally in the top 5. Before I do that, it's time to mention my honorable mentions, and the ones that didn't make my top 10. The Little Mermaid, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Extraction 2, The Marvels, and The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Songbirds and Snakes. I hope I pronounced that right. Those are my honorable mentions that didn't make my top 10 movies of 2023. They were still good, but they honestly didn't make the cut. And I feel bad that they didn't make the cut. But hopefully next time. Maybe next time. And coming in at number 5, guys, is Elementals. I believe. I'm sorry. And this Pixar movie was great. It didn't have no villain or anything. It's just basically telling the story of two people who are totally different, but somehow find a connection with each other that really sparks between them. And I have to say, Pixar is really bringing back original movies, and Elementals perfect was the perfect movie to do so. This Pixar movie, I legit loved. I cannot stress that enough. This movie is something that everyone is going to love. Pixar is really stepping their game up and bringing back original movies like Elementals. This Pixar movie, you're definitely gonna cry. You're definitely going to like see that opposites really do attract in their own unique way, and also you're going to see what real true love looks like when you watch this movie. No lie. And coming in at number 4 is Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. We see Miles Morales come back as Spider-Man along with Gwen Stacy, aka Spider-Gwen, and they go to their like secret headquarters and see there are a bunch of Spider-Man across the multiverse, and everything changes for Miles when he finds out that this villain called Spot, I believe Spot, yeah, is trying to threaten the multiverse, and it's up to him, Spider-Gwen, Peter Parker, and a bunch of other new and familiar Spider people to save the multiverse from Spot and make sure he doesn't damage it. I actually loved seeing different variants of Spider-Man because that was really mind blowing. Because I didn't know there were so many variants of Spider-Man. I thought there was only one Spider-Man when I was a little kid. But after seeing so many variants of Spider-Man in this movie and in the first movie, I was really surprised and my mind was shocked. We get a bunch of other cameos in this movie of other Spider-Man as well. I can't tell you which cameos, but we do get somewhat a mention of Spider-Man No Way Home. I can't tell you how it's mentioned because you guys are going to have to see that for yourselves. I know most of you have already seen it, but there are some people who haven't seen it yet. But this, again, I am looking forward to seeing Spider-Man Beyond the Spiderverse. And this movie kind of leaves off in the cliffhanger. I can't tell you how, but when you see it, you'll see where the cliffhanger leaves off at. But all in all, this movie is super fun. It's fantastic, and I'm glad it made my top 10 movies of this year. It's something that, it's something that everyone who is a Marvel and Spider-Man fan, they're going to love it. They're definitely going to love it and just have fun with it. And finally, we're in my top 3 movies, people. We're finally there. And coming in at number 3 is Fast 10. And basically, this movie is about Dom settling down, raising his son Brian, and just living a normal family man life. But a huge threat comes and threatens his family. And that's Dante, played by none other than Jason Momoa, who honestly nails it at the villain role. I'm usually used to seeing him play Aquaman again, but seeing him play the villain role, it kind of was awesome. And seeing him a part of the Fast and Furious family was great too. I can't wait to see what he does in Fast 10 Part 2. And everyone else in this movie was great. I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of the cast come back, including Michelle Rodriguez, who is aka Letty. She is a boss, along with Charlize Theron, who basically is a boss too. I loved her. Every single cast member, including Ludacris and the rest of the cast, Alan Richins and Brie Larson, everybody lived up to their roles and lived up to the hype. I can say this. I can say this, guys. If you're a Fast and Furious fan, go see this movie and check it out, because once you see this movie, you're going to be super hyped. Excuse me. You're going to be super hyped to see what happens in this movie. I'm not giving it away, guys, but honestly, you are going to be really surprised when you stick around after the post credits and see who makes a huge return to the Fast and Furious franchise. Trust me, you are going to be shocked. And coming in at number 2 is the Super Mario Brothers movie. I have to tell you guys, the nostalgia in this movie was real. Check out my movie review. Check out my movie review on this movie to see what I mean. Mario and Luigi are from Brooklyn. They are living normal lives as plumbers, but once they kind of invest some pipes, they land in the Mushroom Kingdom that is led by none other than Princess Peach, who is trying to save her kingdom from Bowser, played by Jack Black. And let me tell you, this is a movie I want a sequel to. I definitely want a sequel to this, because I see this movie getting a sequel for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing a sequel to this movie, because if it does get a sequel, I am down for it, because I am ready to see a sequel for this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next for the Mario Brothers and the rest of their friends. This movie has so much nostalgia. They had like Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart, everything in there. You all are going to love this movie, especially, again, if you're a Super Mario fan. Check this movie out. Go watch it. Have a fun time with it. I really do hope this movie wins Best Animated Film of the Year at the Oscars, because it deserves that. It deserves an award. It deserves an award. Jack Black, Chris Pratt, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, everybody who was a part of this movie, they honestly did their best performance yet. I'm looking forward to seeing a sequel to this movie if we do get one. I'm praying we do, because this movie is something that deserves a sequel to it. Anyone who says otherwise is going to agree with me on it. Definitely going to agree. And finally, we're at my number 1 movie. Drum roll. My number 1 movie of 2023 is Disney's Wish, because this movie commemorates 100 years of Disney, and it's telling the story of Asha, who's an idealist who honestly wants to protect her kingdom from King Magnifico, played by, I can't remember. He was one of the Chris's. Chris Pine. Yes. Played by Chris Pine. Chris Pine. And Asha, played by Ariana DeBose, she gave her best performance, along with her sidekick goat, Valentino, who's played by Alan Tudyk. And her whole group of friends team up with her to stop King Magnifico from taking the wishes. But all in all, guys, this movie definitely commemorates 100 years of Disney. And we get a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of mentions from past Disney movies. Everyone is going to be really surprised by it. I was surprised myself when I went to go and see this movie by myself. It really brought out the magic of what Disney is. And I'm happy that they made this movie and did not delay it to next year, because this movie came out at the right time in honor of 100 years of Disney. Everyone who goes and sees this movie will see that Disney did not lose their magic. It's finally back. And along with classic songs and a great story, everyone is going to love this movie and start singing to the songs and get invested in the story as well. You guys are going to love it. I can tell you that much. You are really going to be surprised in everything. I can promise you this. Everyone who honestly goes sees Disney's Wish will honestly have their hearts soaring and have the magic back in their hearts. And that's it for my top 10 movies of this year, guys. Don't forget to like, comment down below on what your top 10 movies of this year are. Subscribe, because my goal is to still get up to 500 subscribers, guys. Every subscriber helps out. So be sure to share the channel and tell all your friends. And share with everyone you know. And press the little notification bell at the bottom of my video to get notified when my next video is going to be. I will see you guys soon. Take care and God bless. Peace.